Imagine waking up to a weather alert warning that a powerful storm will arrive in less than 48 hours, or turning on the morning news to learn that a major power grid has failed across several states. Within hours, parking lots are packed, shopping carts overflow, checkout lines stretch across the store, and one by one, grocery shelves begin to empty. But here's the part that catches many people off guard. The first products to disappear aren't always the obvious ones. Time and again, the same pattern plays out. Certain shelves are cleared long before others, often leaving late shoppers wondering how everyday essentials vanished so quickly. Understanding why this happens can help you prepare before the rush begins, not through panic buying, but through simple planning. In this documentary, we'll explore the first 7 grocery shelves that typically empty during emergencies, why they're always in such high demand, and how buying a little earlier can save both money and unnecessary stress. Most emergencies don't begin with empty shelves. They begin with uncertainty. A hurricane changes course. A winter storm grows stronger overnight. A wildfire spreads faster than expected. A supply chain problem makes headlines, or a widespread power outage leaves thousands of families wondering what comes next. Before the emergency fully arrives, people begin preparing in almost exactly the same way. They buy the items they believe they'll need first, because thousands of shoppers often make those decisions at nearly the same time. Grocery stores experience a familiar chain reaction. Shelves that looked completely normal in the morning can be nearly empty by the afternoon. This isn't about encouraging panic buying or filling a garage with years of food. It's about understanding how grocery stores operate, why certain products disappear first, and how a little preparation during ordinary weeks can prevent unnecessary stress when demand suddenly spikes. The first shelf to empty is usually one that almost everyone thinks about immediately. Bottled water is almost always the first major product to disappear. That isn't surprising. When people hear about an approaching storm or another potential emergency, their first concern is often clean drinking water. Even if the local water supply remains completely safe, many families still choose bottled water for convenience and peace of mind. The problem isn't that stores underestimate demand, it's that most grocery stores aren't designed to hold enormous reserves in storage. Their inventory depends on regular deliveries, often arriving several times each week rather than sitting in a large warehouse behind the store. When hundreds or even thousands of customers suddenly begin placing multiple cases into their carts, those supplies disappear far faster than they can be replaced. History has shown this pattern repeatedly before hurricanes, severe winter storms, and other regional emergencies. Once demand spikes, even frequent deliveries may struggle to keep pace. A better approach is surprisingly simple. Instead of waiting until a warning is issued, build a small emergency water supply during normal shopping trips. Experts commonly recommend storing several days' worth of drinking water for every member of the household, while rotating stored supplies regularly so they remain fresh. Buying early doesn't just guarantee availability, it also helps you avoid crowded stores, long checkout lines, and the pressure that often comes with last-minute shopping. Once water begins disappearing, attention quickly shifts toward another familiar part of the grocery store: bread and sandwich supplies. The bread aisle often empties within hours. Few foods are as familiar or as convenient. Bread requires no preparation, works for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and can quickly feed an entire family. During uncertain times, people naturally gravitate toward meals they already know how to make. But the bread itself is only part of the story. As loaves disappear, shoppers begin filling their carts with everything that turns bread into a complete meal: peanut butter, jam, sliced cheese, deli meat, tortillas, sandwich rolls, and similar staples. Together, they create fast, inexpensive meals that require little cooking, making them especially appealing during emergencies. Unlike canned goods, however, fresh bread has a relatively short shelf life. Stores rely on frequent deliveries to keep shelves stocked. If transportation is delayed for only a few days, replacement supplies may not arrive as quickly as customers expect. That's one reason experienced planners often keep a few longer-lasting alternatives on hand. Crackers, Tortillas or other shelf-stable options can provide similar flexibility, while remaining usable for much longer. Preparing ahead isn't about replacing fresh food. It's about giving yourself more choices. If the fresh options disappear, first, and once people have secured quick meals, they usually begin thinking about something even more important: lasting nutrition. Shelf-stable protein becomes much harder to find once an emergency extends beyond the first day. Early on, many shoppers focus on convenience. Soon after, attention turns toward foods that will remain useful for weeks or even months. That's why canned tuna, canned chicken, canned salmon, beans, lentils, and canned chili are often among the fastest-selling products during periods of uncertainty. These foods offer more than a long shelf life. They also provide valuable nutrition with little preparation, making them practical when cooking options are limited or time is short. During stressful situations, it's easy to reach for foods that are high in carbohydrates because they're familiar and filling. But protein plays an equally important role. It helps people stay satisfied longer and supports the body's normal daily functions when routines have been disrupted. Another advantage is durability. When stored correctly, many canned and dried protein sources remain usable for years, making them well-suited for gradual emergency preparation rather than rushed purchases. Instead of buying large quantities all at once, consider adding 1 or 2 extra cans during regular grocery trips. Over time, those small additions can quietly build a dependable pantry without placing unnecessary strain on your budget. As emergency planning continues, however, many shoppers begin looking beyond individual meals and start thinking about foods that can feed an entire household. Rice, pasta, and dry staples, once immediate needs, have been covered. Attention often shifts toward foods designed for the longer term. Rice, pasta, oats, dried beans, flour, and other pantry staples have earned that reputation for a reason. They're affordable, filling, easy to store, and capable of providing meals for families over extended periods. During natural disasters and supply chain disruptions, these products frequently experience shortages because they offer exceptional value for both cost and storage life. Many households can stretch them into dozens of meals using ingredients they already have at home, but there's an important detail that's sometimes overlooked. Most dry staples depend on 2 things that may also become limited during an emergency: clean water and a reliable source of heat. Rice and pasta can't help much if you have no practical way to boil water. Flour offers little value without the means to prepare it safely. That's why experienced preparedness planners don't think only about food. They also consider how they'll cook it if electricity is unavailable for several days. A simple backup cooking method can make these inexpensive staples far more useful when they're needed most. And for some families, the next priority isn't long-term storage at all. It's ensuring the youngest members of the household have everything they need before shortages begin. For families with infants, few grocery shelves become more important than the baby aisle. When people anticipate shortages, baby formula, baby food, diapers, and wipes are often among the first products to disappear. Unlike many foods for adults, these essentials usually can't be replaced with simple alternatives. That urgency changes shopping behavior almost immediately. A parent who would normally buy a single container of formula may decide to purchase several instead, not out of panic, but out of concern that the next shipment may not arrive on time. When many families make that same decision together, supplies can vanish in a matter of hours. For everyone else, the shelves look as though they emptied overnight. One practical solution is to maintain a modest rotating supply at home, replacing older items as they're used. That approach keeps products fresh, while reducing the need for last-minute shopping during periods of unusually high demand. More importantly, it helps families avoid difficult choices when stores have little left to offer. Once those essential needs are covered, attention usually returns to the refrigerated aisles, where time becomes an even bigger. Factor milk and refrigerated basics milk is another product that tends to disappear early. Part of the reason is surprisingly simple. Even during an emergency, people continue shopping for many of the same foods they buy every week. As they prepare for the days ahead, they often add extra milk, eggs, butter, yogurt, and other refrigerated basics to their carts. Unlike canned or dried foods, these products have a limited shelf life. Grocery stores depend on steady deliveries to keep refrigerated cases stocked. If severe weather delays transportation or a power outage disrupts distribution centers, replacement supplies may not arrive as quickly as expected. That combination of high demand and constant replenishment makes refrigerated items especially vulnerable to shortages. Fortunately, there are practical alternatives. Shelf-stable milk, powdered milk, and canned evaporated milk can all provide useful backups with much longer storage lives. They won't replace every use for fresh milk, but they can help bridge the gap if regular supplies become difficult to find. The goal isn't to avoid fresh food. It's to create enough flexibility that a temporary shortage doesn't become a major problem. And once practical needs have been checked off, many shoppers begin reaching for something less obvious, but no less important. Section 7. Coffee, tea, and comfort foods. The final shelf often surprises people. It isn't filled with survival gear or emergency rations. It's the shelf stocked with coffee, tea, chocolate, snacks, and familiar comfort foods. At first glance, these items may seem non-essential, but emergencies affect more than physical needs. They also disrupt routines, increase stress, and create uncertainty. During those moments, familiar habits can provide a surprising sense of stability. For many people, beginning the morning with a cup of coffee makes the day feel a little more normal, even when everything else has changed. A warm cup of tea can be calming after hours without electricity. A favorite snack or small piece of chocolate may seem insignificant, yet small comforts often have a meaningful impact on morale during difficult situations. Preparedness isn't only about storing enough calories to get by, it's also about preserving the routines that help people stay calm, think clearly, and support one another. A well-planned pantry balances practical nutrition with a few familiar comforts because resilience is about more than simply meeting basic needs. Every emergency is different. Cause maybe a hurricane, a winter storm, a wildfire, a supply chain disruption, or a prolonged power outage. Yet despite those differences, shopping patterns remain remarkably consistent. Bottled water is often the first to disappear. Bread and sandwich supplies soon follow. Shelf-stable proteins and dry pantry. Staples become increasingly difficult to find as more people begin preparing for longer disruptions. Families with young children quickly compete for limited baby essentials, refrigerated. Basics become harder to replace as deliveries slow, while even coffee and comfort foods vanish as people look for a sense of normalcy in uncertain times. The lesson isn't to rush to the store. Every time bad weather appears in the forecast, it's to prepare gradually, adding just a few extra essentials during regular grocery trips is often enough to build a dependable emergency pantry over time without panic buying, unnecessary expense, or competing with everyone else when shelves begin to empty. Preparedness isn't built in a single shopping trip. It's built through small, thoughtful decisions made long before they're ever needed. If you found this documentary helpful, consider subscribing for more practical, evidence-based preparedness content, and if there's one grocery item you've noticed disappears first where you live, share it in the comments. Your experience may help someone else prepare before the next emergency.